When you take what appears to be an old dirt alley behind a residential neighborhood in Telluride, you would hardly expect the result to be described as picturesque, gorgeous, iconic, or phenomenal. But that's exactly what you'll find when the alley is called Tomboy Road, and it's also known as the road to Imogene Pass. The road to Imogene Pass is 12 miles long, reaches an elevation of 13,114 feet at the pass, and takes about 3 hours or more to traverse. Driving this road, you should expect narrow shelf roads, steep climbs, off-camber terrain, and more historic mine buildings than you can count. If you are an experienced off-road driver who can put aside your fear of heights, this Jeep Badge of Honor trail won't disappoint. A little over 2.5 miles into the trail, you'll come across one of your first major points of interest. This rock tunnel is known as the Social Tunnel. As single women were not permitted at the mines, the men from the Tomboy and Smuggler Union mines would walk several miles down the mountain to this point to meet women from town. Prospectors and speculators first came to this area to stake claims in around the 1870s. In 1875, John Fallon and a partner both bushwhacked up the mountain from Ouray and staked the Union and Sheridan claims in the Marshall Basin. In 1876, however, J.B. Ingram and 2 other men arrived in the basin ahead of Fallon and discovered that the Sheridan and Union claims included more ground than allowed by law. Ingram and his cohort staked a new claim called the Smuggler, incorporating parts of the Sheridan and Union claim. That claim turned out to be one of the widest, deepest, and richest part of the gold vein in that basin. Many historic remnants of that mine can still be seen along the road today. But at that time, back in 1876, there was no road, and Ingram and his cohorts had a major problem. They couldn't get the ore down to town. It wasn't until a few years later, in 1880, when a road finally was built up and over what today is known as Imogene Pass. That road finally allowed those miners to get the ore to market. By 1890, the Rio Grande and Southern Railroad reached Telluride, that little town on the other side of Imogene Pass. A town at the Smuggler Union mine was incorporated in 1895. It had a population of 200 or 300 people and even boasted a YMCA with a bowling alley. Starting sometime during the 1890s, a daily stagecoach started running back and forth between Ouray and Telluride. I imagine that the road back then wasn't nearly as well maintained as it is today. Even today, you'll find those narrow, steep, rocky shelf roads. Can you imagine wanting to ride that stage over the pass? What about driving it? Those must have been courageous men indeed. A few miles up the road from the Smuggler Union mine, you'll find the remnants and history of the Tomboy mine and ghost town. This particular area was settled in 1894 when the mine started producing ore. The population of the town could vary from several hundred to over 1,000 people. The town had a school, a store, a stables, miners' cabins, and even a YMCA that included a bowling alley and a tennis court. The town also had a club with dances. In later years, the mine owners actually bussed young ladies up from Telluride to join the dances. In September of 1919, the town was stirred up by the murder of 4 men. 3 Swedes and a Slovenian had gone in to work the night shift one evening, and soon thereafter 3 Italian miners followed them. Before the morning came, 4 of those men, all 3 Swedes and 1 of the Italians, had been shot dead. The remaining 2 Italians and the Slovenian were the primary suspects in the case. All 3 of them proclaimed their innocence. The 2 Italians went to jury trial locally and were both found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. Because of the depletion of an unbiased jury pool in the area, the Slovenian managed to get a change in venue. That jury found him not guilty. Concerns about lack of anything but circumstantial evidence and the continued protestations of innocence by the two Italians eventually led to the governor taking an interest. In 1924, 4 years into their life sentences, the governor pardoned them. The Tomboy mine continued to operate until 1928, though work did continue in the tunnels even after that until the 1970s. Today, a vast number of remnants of those old buildings still remain. They make a very worthwhile stop for exploration. After you leave the site of the Tomboy mine and Ghost Town behind, you may be surprised to discover many braided roads headed towards the summit. It's in this area that it's especially important to try and locate and identify that main track and stay on the trail. Although the majority of those tracks eventually join back together below the summit for the final push, some of them are definitely more challenging than others. The final mile or two before you reach the pass transforms from a vast alpine tundra to a rocky wasteland, all of which is miles from the nearest town or sign of civilization. But if you pass through this area between 1904 and 1910, you were likely watched by a sentry atop a sniper's nest on top of the pass. In 1901 and 1903, violent labor disputes broke out at the Smuggler Union Mine. During the July 1901 labor dispute, men opened fire on non-union miners, cut telephone wires, and even blew up a cabin. Over the next 2 years, 2 mine superintendents were murdered. The governor sent the Colorado National Guard to the mine in 1903 to quell another dispute, and the area was actually placed under martial law for several months during 1904. In response to those disputes, the captain of the local National Guard unit, who happened to be the manager of the Smuggler Union Mine, built a small redoubt with a flagpole and sniper's nest on top of Imogene Pass to prevent labor union members and sympathizers from coming back over the pass to cause more trouble. The labor disputes did eventually lead to some improvements for the miners. After the 1901 uprising, miners obtained an 8-hour workday and earned $3 per day for their work. The 1903 dispute, seeking those same benefits for mill and other workers, was not successful. Today, you're still likely to be watched as you creep up those final inclines to the pass. But that's only because this place is so beautiful and popular, there's probably already another off-roader on top looking down. I often wonder, does everybody else celebrate like Bill does when they reach the summit?
Yeah! Put that on there.
I got that one on there. Pretty sure everybody heard that one.
Welcome to the top of the 13,114-foot Imogene Pass. This pass is blocked by snow the majority of the year, but even when it isn't, expect strong and cold winds. If you thought by now you were done with those rocky, narrow shelf roads, think again. There are also several places on the way down where you might want to consider using that hill descent button if you've got one. If you made it up the other side, chances are really good you've got everything you need to get down this side. Just take it easy and enjoy the view. Don't forget that the uphill driver always has the right of way. In case you're curious where the name Imogene came from, the Camp Bird mine, you knew there was going to be at least one more mine on this road. One of the original owners had a wife named Imogene. Camp Bird mine was actually one of the most modern and up-to-date of the mines in the area. It didn't open until 1897, and it was named after the ravens that stole food from the miners' camps. It had a boarding house that had room for 400 miners. It had steam heat, sewer connections, electric lights, hot and cold running water, fire protection devices, porcelain bathtubs, a library, a reading room, and a pool table. Camp Bird Mine was also one of the first mines to go to an 8-hour workday, pay higher wages, and provide modern equipment for the miners. Imogene Pass will continue to throw little challenges your way, almost all the way to the end. But by then, I'm sure you're also going to agree that those original folks who described this as phenomenal, picturesque, iconic, and gorgeous, there's really no other good way to describe this place. Stay.
I mean, it looks like a painting. It's not even real. The lighting's just all perfect. It seems like great lights.
So really we're in like some big theatrical production or a booth somewhere, and
It's
all
just too perfect.
virtual reality around us. So we're really in absolutely no danger whatsoever.
Right on.
We just think we are. So
Except
we
my
just-
nipple must be, because it doesn't feel that.
The trail over Imogene Pass dead ends on the Camp Bird Road, where it's only about 5 miles of smooth road into Ouray.
Did you know that the deer in Ouray can jump higher than the average house? It's true. Those deer, they have really strong back legs. And besides, the average house can't jump. If that bad joke didn't put you off, I hope to see you next time when we go and explore another mine in the area of our camp and tackle Poughkeepsie Gulch. As always, thanks for watching. Now go out and find your own adventure.